Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the static and get to what really matters in the stories shaping our world. And today, well, we've got a big one. Just hours ago, late last night actually, the U.S. Senate passed President Trump's $9 billion rescissions package. It was tight. This isn't just some line item veto, though. It feels like a real shift, a recalibration of power in Washington and the ripples. We're already seeing them spread globally, reaching places like Nigeria, other African nations too. So our mission for you today, let's get past the headlines, understand this spending showdown, and trace its consequences both here and abroad.
Absolutely. And rescissions package, it sounds technical, but it's basically the president asking Congress formally to cancel money they'd already agreed to spend, like right now. This one, it actually started a little bigger, $9.4 billion, got trimmed slightly to the $9 billion that passed.
Okay, $9 billion. So where's that cut coming from? What's actually on the chopping block?
Well, the vast majority, we're talking $8.3 billion. That's aimed at foreign aid programs.
Wow, okay. $8.3 billion. And the rest?
The other, $1.1 billion. That targets the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB. Supports PBS, NPR.
Right, familiar names. Now, this already went through the House, didn't it? But I heard that was incredibly close.
Oh, razor thin. Yeah, 214 to 212.
Yeah.
It was definitely not a sure thing. Reports say House Speaker Mike Johnson really had to work to get 2 Republicans to flip their votes at the last minute.
So, real political maneuvering there. What's the argument for these cuts? From the administration side, what's the justification?
The core argument is about trimming fat, essentially. They frame it as eliminating wasteful and unnecessary spending, getting rid of programs they see as, quote, antithetical to American interests.
Antithetical, strong word.
It is. Senator Lindsey Graham put it bluntly, saying money was going to junk and liberal programs that weren't connected to the aid's purpose. And for CPB specifically, the argument is that taxpayer money shouldn't subsidize what they call a politically biased media system, an unnecessary expense, basically.
Okay, so that's one side. Fiscal prudence, aligning spending with specific interests. But there's pushback, right? What are opponents saying?
A lot of pushback, especially regarding public media. Advocates like Kate Riley warned it could be devastating, potentially putting local stations, particularly in rural areas, at risk of going dark.
Going dark? That sounds serious.
Yeah, they argue these cuts hit essential life-saving public safety services, things like emergency alerts, educational content, community connections. So it's framed as a direct hit on vital services versus, just trimming waste.
Quite the clash. So the House squeaked it through. What happened in the Senate? Still close?
Even closer, in a way. The final tally was 51-48, so still very tight.
51-48. Who crossed the aisle, or rather, who broke ranks?
2 Republicans, actually. Susan Collins from Maine and Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. They voted with the Democrats against it.
Interesting. Why did they vote no?
Well, reports mention a couple of things. One, a lack of detail, transparency from the OMB, the White House Budget Office, about exactly which programs would get cut within those broader categories. And 2, fundamental concerns about Congress's constitutional role, the whole power of the purse thing. Senator Murkowski specifically brought up public broadcasting's role in emergencies, even mentioning a recent tsunami warning in Alaska.
That's a concrete example. So these specific programs matter. Were there any compromises made to get it through the Senate? I heard something about PEPFAR.
Yes, exactly. That's a key point. Early versions apparently included cuts to PEPFAR, the president's emergency plan for AIDS relief and other HIV/AIDS funding. Those were removed. That was likely a strategic move to get more Republican support. We saw Senator Mike Rounds, for example, switch to a yes vote after reportedly the White House promised separate funding for rural radio stations.
So some horse trading involved. But this isn't just about this $9 billion, is it? There's this idea of a test balloon.
Right. OMB Director Russell Vought was quite open about it. He basically said, if this goes through, expect many more rescission requests. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse called it a test case. He voiced concern the White House might start using a Musk-type chainsaw on other projects Congress has funded.
A Musk-type chainsaw, that's vivid. And it really brings us to that core constitutional issue, doesn't it? The power of the purse.
Absolutely. The Constitution gives Congress control over federal money. The executive branch is supposed to spend it as Congress directs. It's a fundamental check and balance.
We've seen friction here before, haven't we? Like with Nixon.
Exactly. President Nixon famously tried to impound funds, just refused to spend money Congress had allocated for programs he didn't like back in the early 70s. That led to court cases and ultimately Congress passing the Impoundment Control Act of 1974.
And what did that act do?
It set up the formal process we still have. If the president wants to rescind funds, They ask Congress. Congress has 45 days to approve it. If they don't act or vote no, the money must be spent. It was Congress reinforcing its authority.
But now President Trump is challenging that very act.
He's publicly stated his intent to challenge it, in court, or get Congress to overturn it. He wants to use what he calls the president's long-recognized impoundment power to cut spending.
So this is potentially a much bigger fight than just $9 billion. It's about who controls the spending, fundamentally.
Precisely. Critics worry about the White House trying to govern by rescission, bypassing Congress. Senator Patty Murray warned it could jeopardize all future budget deals if one side feels the other can just claw back funds later. It could concentrate enormous power in the presidency.
And these aren't just abstract political or legal battles. We mentioned the global ripples. Let's talk about the human impact, particularly with those foreign aid cuts.
Yeah, the potential consequences there are stark. Critics point to studies, like one in The Lancet, warning that stopping U.S. aid funding could lead to millions of excess deaths by 2030, especially among children. Maybe 14 million?
14 million, that's staggering.
It is. And organizations on the ground, like those represented by ICVA, report that stop work orders tied to funding uncertainty have already shut down hospitals, food distribution, HIV treatment centers. UNAIDS projects millions of new HIV infections and deaths if the funding gaps persist. And these cuts often hit the most vulnerable, hardest LGBTIQ plus people, refugees, asylum seekers.
Okay, let's zero in on Nigeria. Things seem particularly complex there. What are we hearing?
It's a mixed bag, and some claims are hard to verify. There are reports circulating, particularly on platforms like TikTok, that Nigeria's President Tinubu threatened to deport hundreds of U.S. citizens, giving them just 24 hours supposedly in retaliation for U.S. deportation policies.
Retaliation. And deportation of U.S. citizens, that seems extreme. Is there confirmation?
Confirmation is difficult. There are also claims President Trump demanded Nigeria release a specific figure, Nnamdi Kanu, within 24 hours. Again, lots of claims swirling. What we do know is Nigeria is on a list of countries the U.S. has flagged regarding potential travel restrictions, giving them time to address concerns.
And Nigeria's response?
Well, interestingly, Nigeria's foreign minister, Yusuf Tuggar, very publicly rejected a separate U.S. request to take in 300 Venezuelan deportees. His quote was pretty direct. "We've got our own problems. 230 million people is enough."
Wow. A clear assertion of national interest there. But here's the really surprising part I read. Despite all this, and past comments from President Trump, polls suggest a majority of Nigerians are pro-Trump. Almost 60%.
It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But yes, that figure, around 60%, has been reported. It's fascinating.
But then you have figures like the Afrobeat star Davido basically telling the diaspora not to come back to Nigeria right now, citing the challenges and saying we do not have the best leaders.
Right, so you have this complex picture. Support for a U.S. political figure alongside internal criticism and very real economic and political struggles.
So what does that tell us? Is the U.S. aid the main driver of opinion, or is it more complicated?
It suggests it's much more complicated. Yes, aid matters, but public opinion, especially towards a foreign leader, can be shaped by many things: perceptions of strength, historical ties, maybe disagreement with their own government's direction. It's rarely just about one thing, like aid dollars or immigration policy.
So this deep dive really throws that core tension into sharp relief, doesn't it? The executive push for, well, what they see as efficiency and control over spending versus Congress's role, its power of the purse. And the real-world impacts, they're felt everywhere, from rural radio stations here to hospitals in Africa.
Absolutely. And it really makes you, the listener, think about the longer-term implications. What does this power shift mean for how the U.S. operates, both internally and on the world stage?
Exactly. So as these negotiations continue, as this tug-of-war potentially escalates, the question lingers. How will this evolving dynamic shape America's engagement with the world, and what does it truly signal for the future of things like global humanitarian aid? Definitely something to keep thinking about.